Your mechanic wants $250 to $350 to clean your fuel injectors. Some dealers charge even more. And here's the thing, most of them are using a method that independent testing has shown barely works. Meanwhile, Japanese mechanics have been using a completely different approach for decades. No expensive equipment, no removing parts from your engine, no special tools whatsoever, just an $8 bottle, a quarter tank of gas, and about 30 minutes of driving. And the science actually backs it up. Today I'm going to walk you through the exact method, explain why it works, and show you how dirty injectors are silently destroying your engine's performance and your fuel economy right now without you even knowing it. Let's start with why this matters. Your fuel injectors are arguably the most precision-engineered component in your entire engine. They spray fuel into the combustion chamber as an incredibly fine mist, thousands of times per minute, at pressures that can exceed 2,000 pounds per square inch in modern direct injection engines. The spray holes on a fuel injector are microscopic. We are talking about openings smaller than a human hair. So when even a tiny amount of carbon deposit builds up on those tips, the spray pattern goes from a perfect cone-shaped mist to an uneven dribble. And that is when the problems start. A clogged fuel injector does not announce itself with a dramatic failure. It creeps up on you. First, you notice your fuel economy dropping by maybe 1 or 2 miles per gallon. No big deal, right? Then the engine starts idling a little rough. You might feel a slight hesitation when you step on the gas to pass someone on the highway. Your check engine light might flicker on. And by the time you actually feel something is wrong, studies show your injectors could be reducing your engine's efficiency by up to 10%. That is like throwing one out of every $10 you spend on gas straight into the garbage. Now here's what most American shops do when you bring your car in with these symptoms. They hook up a pressurized canister of cleaning solvent directly to your fuel rail and they run the engine on it. Sounds professional, right? An independent test by Injector RX put this method head-to-head against other cleaning techniques on a 1993 Ford Mustang with 135,000 miles. They pulled the injectors, flow tested them, and found they were flowing unevenly, 156, 168, 180, and 172 cubic centimeters per minute. So they reinstalled the injectors without cleaning them and ran the professional fuel rail cleaning service. The result was that the engine could barely run afterward. It would die every time you touched the throttle. The harsh solvent had actually dislodged debris inside the fuel system and partially clogged the injectors even worse. 2 of them were now leaking. That's a $250 to $350 service that made the problem worse. And this isn't an isolated case. The issue with pressurized on-car cleaning is that it blasts concentrated solvent through your entire fuel system in a short burst. The chemicals are harsh enough to dislodge chunks of varnish and carbon, but instead of dissolving them, these particles float downstream and get jammed in the injector's tiny microfilters and valve seats. It's like pressure washing a clogged drain. Sometimes you just push the clog deeper. So what do Japanese mechanics do differently? It comes down to a philosophy that's deeply embedded in Japanese automotive culture: prevention over intervention. If you have ever looked at a Toyota or Honda maintenance schedule, especially in regions like Puerto Rico where fuel quality can be lower, you will notice something interesting. They recommend adding a fuel system cleaner to the tank at regular intervals, typically every other oil change. Not a shop service, not a $300 flush, a bottle of fuel additive. But here is the critical part. It has to be the right additive with the right active ingredient. The secret weapon is a chemical compound called polyetheramine known as PEA. It was originally developed by Chevron in the 1980s, and it is fundamentally different from the cheap solvents you will find in most fuel system cleaners at the gas station. Here is why. When fuel burns inside your engine, it does not burn perfectly. Small amounts of unburned hydrocarbons bake onto the injector tips, intake valves, and combustion chamber walls, forming hard carbon deposits. Most over-the-counter fuel additives use basic solvents that evaporate or burn off at combustion temperatures before they can actually dissolve anything. PEA is different. Research published in the SAE, International Journal of Fuels and Lubricants, confirms that PEA remains chemically stable at the extreme temperatures inside a running engine. It does not burn off. It bonds at the molecular level with carbon deposits, forms a one-molecule-thick complex on the surface, and then fresh fuel flowing through washes that complex away. The deposit is literally lifted off the metal and carried out through the exhaust, with no residue left behind. And here's the thing that separates the Japanese mechanic approach from just randomly pouring stuff in your tank. There is a specific method to it, and it actually matters. Step 1. Drive your car until you are at a quarter tank of gas or less. This is critical. Most cleaner manufacturers recommend adding the product to a near-empty tank. Why? Because you want the highest possible concentration of PEA actually reaching your injectors. If you dump a 12-ounce bottle into a full 20-gallon tank, you dilute the cleaning agent so much it is practically useless. In a quarter tank, that same bottle works at nearly 4 times the concentration. Step 2. Pour the entire bottle of PEA, polyethyramine-based cleaner, into the tank. Not half, the whole bottle. Products like Chevron Techron Concentrate Plus, Redline SI1, and Gumut Regain High Mileage are all well-documented PEA-based cleaners. Techron contains roughly 32% PEA based on its published safety data sheets. Redline SI1 runs between 30% and 50%. These are not marketing gimmicks. The PEA concentration is what separates an effective cleaner from a bottle of expensive nothing. Step 3. Immediately fill up the tank with quality gasoline, preferably top-tier certified fuel. And this is where the Japanese automakers actually shaped the industry. Back in the early 2000s, Toyota, Honda, BMW, GM, and several other manufacturers determined that EPA's minimum detergent requirements for gasoline were not enough to keep modern engines clean. So they created the top-tier fuel standard, which requires 2 to 3 times more detergent additives than the federal minimum. According to AAA's independent testing, using top-tier gasoline can reduce existing carbon deposits by 45% to 72% over just 5,000 miles of driving, compared to non-certified fuel. The extra additives cost less than a penny per gallon at the pump. Step 4, and this is the part most people skip. Go drive, not a short trip to the grocery store. You need sustained highway driving for at least 20 to 30 minutes, ideally getting the engine fully up to operating temperature. Some experienced mechanics even recommend occasional bursts above 4,000 RPM, which generate enough heat in the combustion chamber to help the PEA work more effectively. The combination of concentrated cleaner, quality fuel, and proper driving temperature is what makes this method work. The PEA dissolves deposits gradually and safely, unlike the shock and blast approach of pressurized shop cleaning. Hey, before we continue, if you are learning something new, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Now let me address the skeptics. I know some of you are thinking, Does a bottle of fuel additive really work? One owner on Bob is the Oil Guy forums documented his experience in detail. His car's fuel economy had dropped, throttle response was sluggish, and his fuel trims were way off. He tried multiple brands of fuel system cleaners with no improvement. Then he used Redline SI1 with the quarter tank method. That very first tank, his fuel economy jumped from 21 to 23 miles per gallon in city driving. Over the next several tanks, it stabilized at 25 miles per gallon on the highway, and his long-term fuel trims fell back within normal range. One bottle, one treatment. Here's another one. An owner of a Ford Suburban had a persistent misfire on cylinder 1. They swapped the coil, swapped the plug wire, and tried another brand of injector cleaner, but nothing worked. They were about to take it in for a full injector replacement, which would have cost hundreds of dollars. As a last resort, they added 2 bottles of Royal Purple Max Atomizer, a high-concentration P.E.A. cleaner, to 3/4 of a tank of gas. After about 200 kilometers of driving, the misfire completely disappeared. A $20 fix instead of a potentially $800 or more repair. But here's the thing. The Japanese mechanic philosophy is not about waiting until things break and then trying to fix them. It is about never letting them break in the first place. The recommended maintenance interval is simple. Add a P.E.A.-based fuel system cleaner every 3,000 to 5,000 miles or with every oil change. Between treatments, use top-tier gasoline consistently. That is the entire protocol. No tools, no jacks, no removing engine components, no risk of cross-threading a fuel rail fitting or creating a fire hazard with pressurized solvents. Just a bottle, a gas tank, and the discipline to do it regularly. And here is why prevention is so much more effective than cure. When deposits are fresh and light, polyethyramine, known as PEA, dissolves them easily during normal driving. The cleaning agents in top-tier fuel handle the routine maintenance between dedicated treatments. But once deposits become heavily baked on, what mechanics call coked deposits, no pour in additive can fully remove them. At that point, the only reliable method is pulling the injectors entirely and subjecting them to ultrasonic cleaning, where high-frequency sound waves physically blast the deposits off in a solvent bath. That service runs $15 to $20 per injector, plus labor to remove and reinstall them. The total can be $200 to $400 or more, depending on the vehicle. There is something else you should know, especially if you drive a car with gasoline direct injection, or GDI, which is most new cars today. GDI engines inject fuel directly into the combustion chamber at extremely high pressures, so the injector tips sit right in the heat and in carbon. They are significantly more prone to deposit buildup than traditional port injection engines. And because the fuel never touches the back of the intake valves, in a gasoline direct injection engine, pour-in additives cannot clean the valves at all. They only clean the injectors and the combustion chamber. For GDI engines, this Japanese method of preventive injector maintenance is even more critical. Let me also bust a myth while we are here. You have probably seen those YouTube videos where someone adds a fuel system cleaner and thick white smoke billows out the exhaust. The assumption is that smoke means it is working, that it is burning off all the carbon. That is wrong. According to multiple automotive experts, that white smoke is just the cleaning product itself burning off. Polyethyramine, or PEA, the compound that actually does the cleaning, does not produce visible byproducts. The products that work the best often seem to do the least from the outside. Some people ask, why not just replace the injectors instead of cleaning them? On a modern vehicle, a single fuel injector costs $70 to $250, depending on the make and model. Multiply that by 4, 6, or 8 cylinders, add labor, and you are looking at $500 to $2,000. Meanwhile, fuel injectors are designed to last 50,000 to 100,000 miles, and with proper maintenance, the entire life of the vehicle. An $8 bottle of Techron every 5,000 miles works out to roughly $1.60 per thousand miles. Over 100,000 miles, that is $160 in preventive maintenance versus potentially $1,500 in replacements. The math does not lie. So let us recap the Japanese mechanic method. Wait until you are at a quarter tank. Add an entire bottle of a PEA-based fuel system cleaner. Chevron Techron, Redline SI1, and Gumut Regain are the proven products. Fill up with top-tier gasoline. Drive at highway speed for at least 30 minutes, allowing the engine to reach full operating temperature. Repeat every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, or at each oil change. Between treatments, use top-tier gasoline exclusively. That is it. No tools, no jacks, no expensive shop visits, no risk of making the problem worse with high-pressure solvent flushes. Japanese automakers did not just build some of the most reliable engines on the planet by accident. They built a maintenance culture around prevention. The same companies, Toyota, Honda, and Acura, that helped create the top-tier fuel standard also recommend fuel system additives in their own maintenance schedules. They knew that the simplest, cheapest solution was also the most effective one. An $8 bottle beats a $300 shop service every single time, as long as you use it before the damage is done. That's all for today. If this saved you from an unnecessary trip to the mechanic, hit that subscribe button and the bell so you do not miss our next video. Drop a comment below and let me know what fuel system cleaner you have had the best results with. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.